Here's the ladder. I just did some 13th they were after round 14, the Brisbane Lions. 13th on the ladder. We've looked at this for the last 6-8 weeks. They find themselves in third position, and by hell, they're playing as well as anyone.
And I think Hawthorn were 14th at that time, so in the same time. So you've got, those two form sides that have been able to, flush their way up the ladder. And I think we did say at the time, we saw what Carlton and GWS did last year, from the same time to get to preliminary finals, and very nearly all the way. So we've got a couple of teams who are on the charge.
It's exciting. I'm going to get us underway tonight. I've got a statement, not so much of a question. Better to be the hunter and not the prey when you're coming up against the Hawthorn Footy Club. I was at the MCG on the weekend and watched them and couldn't have been more impressed like the rest of the footy world. And I think for maybe the last 10 weeks, they've been like the pesky little brother that, we've looked at them and thought, oh, yeah, they're going okay. And you don't do much work on them. You just think they'll come after us and we'll be good enough to put them back in their box. And Geelong were 2 weeks ago. Collingwood had that attitude. They didn't put a lot of work into Hawthorn on the weekend. They thought, let's see what they've got. And this Hawthorn team just hunted them down. And it started at the opening bounce. The pressure was intense. And we'll show you some stuff here that backs it up. And it's probably a reflection on Collingwood every bit as much as it is with this smaller... They picked a super side, by the way. The way they set up forward of the ball in the conditions is outstanding. Their smalls just made a mess of this Collingwood premiership defence. They couldn't match up.
I think, and the alternative to your argument about Collingwood didn't put any time into them is that they did, and Hawthorn was still able to impose their game style. So either way, Hawthorn come out of it extremely well. This was a standout. The fact that they're five... So we talk about your Nipsies, like the Geelong forwards and different forwards that have forward packs as high forwards that have had that impact. We'll have a look at that. 5 of the top 8 ranked players on the field were in that high forward role, able to get up the ground and support their back six through the midfield and then take their chances and score.
So it was interesting. Remember last year, guys, late in the season, they cleaned up Collingwood at the MCG as well. Yeah. So they've had the wood over them a little bit, and it just makes you wonder what they do. It's probably more, though, about Hawthorn than about Collingwood, isn't it?
I'll show you some stuff here which says, when I'm saying you've got to go after Hawthorn. You've got to have a plan for Sicily. You've got to have a plan for their two small forwards. And I don't reckon clubs have. And you have a look at this. And then maybe this is as much about Collingwood as anyone else. This is the first goal of the game. So here's Warple off the back of the pack, and there's your 2 spares, right? It's the first goal of the game. Have a look at Warple. Still no work put into him. He kicks a goal. So when I'm saying if you don't hunt Hawthorn, if you don't get a fist into Watson, how does Watson get out the back here? So there's Markov. Quaynor is actually his man. They're both up at the contest. Who's pushing Watson up the ground so he can't get out the back? So that's what I mean. If you've done your homework on Nick Watson, you won't let him get out the back. And then you see Hoskin Elliott. Where's the hand across? Where's the hand across? Straight past him. Yeah. You haven't done your homework, or you've done your homework, as you pointed out, and they just didn't want to follow through with it. So Adelaide this week, they will do their homework on this Hawthorn side, because if you don't, those blokes will bite you and do the damage.
Yeah, they were impressive. The thing that I was most impressed about sitting at home watching, Gaz, obviously you were there to watch it, was how impressed they were in the wet weather. And normally, you think wet weather football, OK, boys, long down the line, kick the ball, don't over handball, but they just played their game style. 200
handballs, nearly 1 for 1. They were able to go, and it was, all of it was effective to find another bit of time and space, to put a player into space. So the basics of the game were done really well by Hawthorn, both at ground level and in their tackling and beating tackles. Collingwood didn't match up to the basics.
So is that a case of the coach going in with confidence to his players, saying, boys, we do the basics well, the ground ball and the tackling, which is critical in wet weather, we don't need to change anything else?
I'll take you back to the 2 previous weeks. This is how well they're coached, and this is how well prepared and how confident they are. Collingwood got beaten by Geelong and Essendon. How? What was the method? It was all uncontested ball.
Kick the ball around.
Deny them the footy. And you're thinking, you're going in this game and go, Hawthorn going to do this? They did the opposite. 200 handballs in the wet and taking ground, and handballs received. So the confidence in the group and the coaching from Mitchell was absolutely outstanding. And then, of course, you've got the celebrations of Jack Ginnivan, which were exciting to watch. Is there a chance that Jack Ginnivan's a better player than Collingwood thought he was? He's had 20-plus touches 5 times. He's had 20-plus once at Collingwood. I know it's not all about touches.
Yeah, this is his third. That was his 3rd highest ranking game. So he had a couple of other higher ranking games at the Pies, I believed. But That was definitely... He loves the big stage. He's won an Anzac Day medal. He's had the chance to perform when required, and clearly against his old side, it was another opportunity to stand up and to impress and to perform, because he loves performing, and he did extremely well.
Any work into him. They didn't put any work into him. I watched Zach Merritt 2 weeks ago against this Collingwood side at the MCG, ripped them to shreds, and no work was put into him. Jack Ginnivan played high. He had 9 touches in about the first 15 minutes, and not once did they put any work.
Okay, at this stage, is it a mistake by Collingwood to trade him or move him on?
I think you got to be there, Brownie, don't you? You have to understand what it was that... Whether he may have been upsetting the group more than we ever know, but he can play.
I think on any measure, if you look at it right now, because you look at, OK, so Ginnivan's gone out and he cost you, I think, what did you get back, a second rounder back or swap second rounders, which Hawthorn are looking better off now with where they're at. And Schultz has come in. So when you measure all of that up simply on a trade capital, you think, well, it hasn't been effective. And then you've got a 21-year-old kid who's actually playing, you know, improving his football.
And can play in the midfield.
But that's what we can see. We don't know about what we couldn't see. And Collingwood, you know, you don't know what they had to make that decision on.
So it looked like, and just a word on Collingwood, it looked like, and we said this before, that Hawthorn had unfinished business. They're very much going about, you know, pushing hard towards September, and it looked like the other team's business was finished. That was the commentary throughout the course of the afternoon, and Collingwood need to prove us wrong over the next 5 weeks. Their run home is... Well, all the run homes are
well, it's the same problems again, so we're not going to show any vision. We showed it last week, but 37 inside 50s again. Hawthorn had 69, so they just can't get any territory with a team last year that was able to get territory quite easily.
What do you got for us, big fella?
Well, as Luke Beveridge finally found his spine. Now, he'd never
his
get
spine or the team's spine?
He'd never get accused of not having a spine, but the actual team spine. Because we've spoken about for years, haven't we, about the Bulldogs' inability to find that goal-to-goal line, really. And we know they've had Tim English, the Australian ruckman, last year for a couple of years. We've had a couple of forwards coming along nicely, but this man, Rory Lobb, especially, has gone back to centre-half-back, or gone to centre-half-back. Maybe before they threw him out, Gaz, they threw him back.
The poster boy for the number one saying in footy, throw him back before you throw him out.
Exactly right. But you know what, Gaz? It was probably through accident, because remember that game a few weeks ago against Fremantle where he played a sensational game forward?
He did.
And Bevo thought, well, hang on a minute, Norton's coming back in, I can't drop him, so I've got to give him a go. And he's gone back, and he was sensational on Jeremy Cameron on the weekend, and obviously Booker Karmas will now be able to get into his third defender role when Liam Jones comes back. Sam Darcy, imagine what he's going to be like when he actually grows up.
Just on this was their issue for a long time, wasn't it? Their inability to take an intercept mark. And all of a sudden, now I'm not sure Rory Lobb, small sample, but he's just got Jeremy Cameron's scalp, so he's going okay.
In that weather that was exceptional. And they were tall at the front and they were tall at the back.
He's 206 centimetres, Rory Lobb.
But they were still able to effectively, you know, take the grabs up top and then still contribute at ground level, and that's where the Bulldogs are doing their damage. So their small forwards are putting a lot of pressure on, which gives those intercept markers a chance.
They're good at ground ball as well, the key forwards, so they've been sensational there. So they've got good balance at either end. They're winning those contests behind the ball now, the 1v1 contest, which we always asked Bevo about, and he used to spark up at us on a Friday night, Gaz. Well, he's got the answer now.